Hey everybody, I'm Francisco. Today is January 28th, Tuesday, 2025, and we're here at the Kubeflow community meeting. Before we get started, I'm going to read the CNCF Code of Conduct so that we can all just make sure that we follow the great conduct we have. Please demonstrate empathy and kindness towards other people. Let's be respectful of differing opinions, viewpoints, and experiences. Giving and gracefully accepting constructive feedback. Means we are accepting responsibility and apologizing to those affected by our mistakes and learning from the experience. Focusing on what is best, not just for us as individuals, but for the overall community. And using welcoming and inclusive language. If any folks have any questions about that, please feel free to let me know. But let's get started. If folks have any agenda items they'd like to add, we're going to get started with the updates we have here. But please feel free to add directly to this document. I've shared the link in the chat. Otherwise, I'm going to get us started. Did we want to go over? Oh, actually, before we get there, is there anybody new that wanted to introduce themselves to the community, or anybody that just wanted to say hello? Okay. Thank you.
Hello.
Oh, go ahead.
Uh,
Yeah, please.
yeah, so myself, Million. So, like, I am new to this community. So, yeah, just wanted to say hi, and I am interested in contributing to Kubeflow, and I have some PRs open, so I want the review from you guys. So, yeah. So,
Awesome. Well, welcome. Did you want to, say your name, maybe your place of work, where you're from, or where you live, wherever?
so yeah. So I am like currently a student, engineering undergraduate student, not working at some place. So I was
Awesome. Awesome.
last year LFX mentee for Project Thanos
Oh,
under LFX. So I am So now for like exploring other projects and having contributing to those projects and getting some more experience, and that's the goal. So yeah.
awesome. Well, welcome, and really, really appreciate you coming by. I hope you come more than just once. Please do feel free to join the party.
Yeah,
We're here
yeah,
every
Make sure you
Tuesday.
come to like this meeting is more of a community meeting, but if you want to actually write code and stuff, make sure you come to the one of the component kind of working group meetings. So are you using any specific component? I mean, obviously we don't need to derail the meeting for this, but find the
No,
component you're using and then look for the working group meeting for that you want to join.
yeah. Currently, I opened some PR on website, so it doesn't have a component
oh, okay. Yeah, then this is
specific
actually the
meetings,
perfect place
right?
to discuss that.
Yeah, that's actually
Yeah,
the one exception to the thing I just said. Yes.
yeah,
I see. Cool.
yeah.
Awesome, awesome. So, did we want to start with the release update, Valentina and Ricardo?
Yeah, sure. Um, so let's talk briefly about the status for the feature freeze. Uh, just we discussed in the last week's meeting. Um, last week was expected to be the feature freeze date, but we had some blockers on 3 to 4 working groups with cutting their releases and syncing their manifests. So we decided to postpone to this week. Uh, and we're still gathering information about how's the status of the remaining working groups on cutting their releases. And with the pipelines specifically, we had a problem syncing the manifest. So our status didn't change as much, but um, I need to do a final check with the remaining working groups to see how's their progress to cut the releases so we can finish CQ manifest and cut RC0 on time for beginning manifest testing and distribution testing. Other than that, I would like to hand over to Valentina to share the overall status of the 110 release. Valentina?
Hi, hello everyone. I think what I will do, here I have, let me see, can I share my screen?
I just let you do it. So you might need to stop doing it, Francisco. Oh, yeah, perfect. I just approved her to do it, so she probably could overtake from you. So By the way, are you joined as the meeting host, Francisco? You're not, are you? Also, when you do join, remember to rename yourself like I forgot to do.
Okay. Technical difficulties. On my. Yeah.
If you can't share your screen, just send the link in the chat and we can open it.
Yeah. I don't know, Ricardo, do you have access to the slides or
Oh, is it not shared?
No.
Oh, okay.
I still don't have access to a drive to,
Oh,
upload
okay, we
it.
should do that after, but you can just make the link public
Yeah.
very temporarily, and then we can
Let's
just
see
paste it.
if I can do it now. Okay, now I can. Okay.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
Okay, I think it's as Ricardo mentioned. So for notebooks, what we have heard was not updates for the release. So it seems that the version that we will be using for release 1.10 will be the same as we had released in 1.9. For Carib, Andre was requesting 2 PRs to be reviewed in order to cherry pick them and be part of the release. Then for Kubeflow pipelines, as Ricardo mentioned, the manifests were synchronized. So there is a PR, but then the CI running that new source code was giving some issues. So the pipelines team right now is waiting on the manifest team. I know the manifest team were working on a new PR into that. And then the model registry, the last news we had is the model registry UI will be part of the release as well as part of the model registry service. And we are waiting on news to synchronize this manifest. The rest, I think, stays the same. But yeah, that's the current update.
By the way, technically
Uh-huh.
speaking, the manifest version for notebooks is actually different, so you do still need to sync the manifest.
Okay, which version are we
That
targeting?
even that version is different than the one that was released with the previous release.
Okay, what version do we want to target?
It was 0.0 previously, I believe. Oh no, sorry.
Okay.
Wait, no, I just realized. No, yeah, it was 0.0 previously. Maybe it wasn't. Okay, maybe I'm lying. I need to check. I need to check.
No worries. Yeah, I think it was this one, but please let us know as soon as possible. And I think that's all I have.
Yeah, Valentina. Sorry, this is
Mhm.
Eder here. Yeah, for model registry is mostly done. We just merged the pull request on the manifest. But Lucas
Fantastic.
Lucas, I don't know if Griffin, you are on the call. We are going to follow up with you and Manos on the chat just to figure out the next steps. Probably you need to cut out a release as well, but we are mostly done.
That's great. Perfect. Thank you.
Awesome. And so I think that means we can move on to some of the other items, and thank you, Ricardo.
So can we get a confirmation on the date for the feature freeze then? So not feature freeze, sorry. That has that technically passed then, these two? Should I strike these out?
Now
We're still waiting for the other working groups. Sorry, Valentina. Just to say that we're still waiting for the remaining working groups to say that they already cut the release, so we can finish sync and manifest and releasing RC0. But I think we should start thinking of a hard deadline, and my proposal is to be end of this week, so we have enough time to start the manifest testing, the distribution testing, and have Kubeflow 110 released on time for KubeCon Europe. But I'm open for any suggestions. All I ask is please keep us posted on any blockers so we can find contributors to help you on fixing those blockers and have your components cut have the releases cut on time for feature freeze.
So when are you wanting to actually say that? It's like what's the actual date we're going to cut out?
January 31st. So it's end of this week.
I'll quickly look into see if I need to cut a thing because we might have merged some PRs on the notebooks one, even if it's just I do a patch release, you know, like a 0.3 rather than a 0.2. Even just rebuilding the images might be a good idea from a security perspective, you know.
Matthew, if you're open to suggestions, Catip and training operator usually cuts the release just like we do for Kubeflow. What I mean is that they cut the release for training operator like 190
Yeah.
RC0, and then
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can follow up with those RCs as we're going to create the Kubeflow RCs.
Yeah, I agree that it probably there is a debate as to whether we should cut a 110 even if nothing has actually changed on the Kubeflow, because there's no strict reason to do that. But maybe we should just for consistency with history. But I don't know. That's that we can discuss that. But yeah.
Sure.
Like
Yeah,
the only update that I might do that I think is worth it because it impacts literally every user of Kubeflow pretty much is I usually do a bump of the TensorFlow and PyTorch and CUDA versions of all of the notebook, not the like notebook backend images, but the ones that the actual data scientists and engineers use. So that would usually require a 1.10 bump, let's say, because I don't like to have different versions of PyTorch between patch versions of the notebook images and the default images, you know? So that
gotcha. Yeah, I
that's probably
totally
the only,
understand that.
but that will cause a bump because we version all those images at the same time. That will cause a bump of the controller images, even though they literally will have no changes. But they're pretty stable at this point, and there some of them are going to be got rid of with Notebooks 2.0 anyway. We'll talk about them more later. Okay, sorry for overtaking that. So, I'll look and see. I think Intel also wanted me to update, or they wanted to update their images, so I'll just see if they've done that as well. So, because Intel apparently has their own AI accelerators now, if you didn't know. Cool, moving on.
Awesome.
So one more thing, Ricardo, maybe this is a good opportunity as well to talk about the documentation and the help needed from the working groups.
Yeah, this is a good topic. So I have a tracker issue I'm gonna share in the meeting notes. What I'd like to ask for all the working group leads in this meeting, please use the tracker issue for documentation to propose any required changes to your components, because as of now, we don't have a docs lead, so it's up to the release managers to do that. So please let us know if you are planning to do any substantial changes to your components documentation, then we can plan for making those changes on time for the 110 release. One last topic that I'd like to share in advance to that, I hope this will be quick. Given that this 110 release, I started with some members to shadow the release manager role. The proposal is to find potential candidates for the next releases to take over the release manager role. And I'm proud to say that I already made a decision of the next release manager. It will be Valentina, and she'll be helping me to finish the 110 release. Then when we get the final release for 110, she'll be taking over the 111 release for Kubeflow. So thank you, Valentina, for all the hard work during the release. I really appreciate all your help, and I hope you can make a way better release that we could work so far during the past two releases. So congrats, Valentina.
Thanks for the opportunity, and thanks everyone who's been, meeting with us weekly and helping us and, answering Slacks and posting on Jira tickets. So appreciate everyone's help. I'm looking forward to continue working with you all. And thanks, Ricardo, and of course, community for the trust on this.
Awesome. Thank you all for the awesome work. Cool. Yeah, lots of work goes into the release, so can't thank you all and everybody involved enough. It's just lots and lots of hard work. Cool. So getting to the community agenda, I've linked my issue. We discussed this last week. I wanted to for some reason my mouse is not like it. I wanted to plug it again and mention this is adopting Feast officially into Kubeflow. And I wanted to mention it to folks here so they can have a chance to review it, opine on it. You know, Feast has a long history with Kubeflow. You know, we've have approvals from the Feast side and the maintainers. There's a lot to work out. What that looks like long term in terms of like the infrastructure. You know, but I think like the broad point is that we would want to add Feast back into the manifests so that you know, we could have kind of a full ML platform with Kubeflow is kind of the view there. And I outlined some items in more detail about what the benefits I think are.
I just want to clarify, you're not talking about just adding it to the manifesto. You want to actually formally become part of
Correct.
Kubeflow.
Yes.
I think the order of those things has to happen at the same time though, right?
Yes,
Like, because we don't really allow random components anymore in the manifest. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So like you know, migrating the repo and then figuring out the infrastructure changes behind the scenes. So like Feast has a bunch of integrations with different data source providers, Snowflake.
I think it's fine if you keep the Feast org like that. That doesn't necessarily need to be separate. But what I'm saying is like, the thing I just want to get confirmation on is how you plan to do the working group stuff. Like the way to answer the question is really we need to make a Feast or whatever you want to call it working group if it's data or whatever. But like I still think it should be its own working group because I think it's an important enough component. But that's for you guys to decide and for the people in the existing data working group to decide if they want to help maintain your component. But what I want to hear is just like I want to understand. So how many active like core maintainers do you have on Feast right now? And are they interested in the same thing? Like, are they willing to dissolve their own governance structure, if you know what I mean, and join?
Yeah, they are willing to dissolve the governance structure.
Yeah,
Feast to donate it. So that conversation we already did have on the Feast side with the existing maintainers, and so that part's done. Now it's just more of like whether Kubeflow wants to adopt it and figure out that piece.
I think everyone's pretty much on board with it, but I think a lot of the just like this is what I'm perceiving. I'm not speaking on behalf of the community. I'm just like what I perceive is that I think the easiest thing for you to propose would be let's make a Feast working group. What maybe not called Feast. Maybe it should be called, I don't know,
data. I mean, I do think that it should go into the data working group.
Or like
can we discuss this in
maybe
a proposal? Like we in any case we need to have a proposal, right? So,
yeah, this feels like a lot of sausage making and also a lot of bold claims on a recorded call that's transcribed. So I think this needs to be proposal, guys.
yeah, let's do official proposal, Francisco, and then discuss it there, similar to model registry and Spark operator, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, just so that we can give him some guidance on that. Do we think that he should start with its proposing a working group specifically for Feast? Or
I
do you
think
think
we can discuss it in the proposal, right?
I mean, of course, but like he shouldn't spend lots of time writing a proposal unless there's at least a little bit of guidance from what we
No, but
think.
this is just the one part of working group, right? There are many other things we should discuss in a proposal.
Of course.
We can also open a thread or a DM or something if you want to advise Francisco. I mean, you know,
I don't have a particular opinion here. It's about the people who are maintaining the data stuff that's already in the data working group, you know? But yeah.
Totally. Probably a different call.
Yeah, well, in fact, we discussed that a little bit with some of the data working group. I think there's an open thread there. So anyways, cool, let's move on. Andre, did you want to talk about AI and LM ops and roadmap?
Yeah, maybe quickly. Do you have Amber on the call here or not really?
I don't think we do.
All right, so like just to give a heads up to the community, like we need to have a roadmap for entire ecosystem and like how we're going to drive AI and LLM ops in cloud native space. Like this is required for CNCF and for us to, you know, have some sort of promotion during the maintainer strike and other things. So the thing is like we have roadmap for individual components in the projects, but we don't have like, you know, like the global roadmap. So we need to start to do something in this front. I'm just like wondering on this call to see if you have any volunteers who want to start and drive those discussions across the
What specifically are you suggesting we do?
Like we need to have high level like items, like for example, you know, like supporting LLM blueprints or, you know, like make KFP work in multi-tenant environments natively, right?
But what, like that obviously would be a thing for the working groups, but like what, is there like a specific, like, are you proposing a new group for this? Are you proposing?
No, so basically, so what I'm proposing, the Kubeflow/Kubeflow will not have anything there. So we need to have like a global roadmap in this repo, and this global roadmap should have like dedicated link to every component, and also should have like, you know, the high level items, like for example, like making Feast part of Kubeflow ecosystem, or like supporting like KFP in a multi-tenancy in a multi-tenant environment, like LLM blueprints. So like some global items which folks can see like where community is going towards to. This is what we need.
But why does that need to be in the Kubeflow? Why can't that just be on the website?
Just like an idea. It could be like in a website. It could be like I just like think having the roadmap.md in the Kubeflow might do make sense.
I mean, we could make a roadmap.md, but just link it. We already have a roadmap.md actually.
Yeah. So again,
But
like
I would prefer to move that history into the website because the website gets Google search results much higher, But,
yeah. I mean, we can have it like on the website. We can have it on the website and the Kubeflow/Kubeflow. Like we can discuss it, but we need to have this roadmap, right?
Seems like something we can discuss on a thread or something, right?
Yeah. The practicality of that is like, how do we agree what we commit to?
I think this is I think Andre, you were trying to just make a plug for this, and then we can kind of discuss it.
Yeah, like only like this. I think like from my point of view, like every working group should have a high level, like maybe 1 or 2 items they want to drive in the next 2 years, so maybe a year, and we should have this item on the roadmap. Just one of the idea could be.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Maybe we don't call it a roadmap then. Maybe we call it like a spotlight or something. So that we don't saying we're committing to something. Like
we can work out probably the language. We can probably,
or like maybe theme or focus or something just like that. You know what I mean? Like rather than because especially if it's not a specific feature or deliverable. If it's like for your case, maybe it's support. No, for me it might be notebooks 2.0 delivery, and for you it might be something.
This seems like a great thing to capture on like a PR or something, right? So we can all discuss and other community managers can chime in versus on the call.
Yeah. So Ricardo, do you have your hands up? Go ahead.
Yeah. What I was going to say is that we need to have a clear differentiation between the release roadmap versus the plans we want to do for the next 1 to 2 years, as you said, Andrew. So I think it's a good idea to have them added to the website. All we need is to give someone's responsibility to keep this roadmap/planning up to date and have them synced with the rest of the working groups. Not sure if this could be part of the release team, but I understand that. Go ahead.
No, I think the spirit of what Andre is suggesting is more of like a high level product roadmap, maybe is what we would call it for. Yep. Rather than like the release roadmap, which is more precise. And I think like the idea is to tell people, hey, here's where we're going. Like maybe being relevant in the Gen AI or LLM world or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Like where like we as a community going towards. And I think Kubeflow is a big ecosystem, right? We have like multiple working groups, like the general direction, especially for new users who never heard about Kubeflow. I think that would be really helpful.
Agreed, because I think it's a lot to just. If you tell people, well, here's the release roadmap, that doesn't sound like, well, here's the specific use case I have and how that helps me.
It could be in the getting started section then, like because most people who come to the Kubeflow website, we do have an introduction. Now they get to the introduction, and then maybe from there we need to like have another one which is like, okay, what's the future? Like we got like introduction to architecture and future, or something like that.
No, I think that's exactly right. And
we again, can call it out on the blog whenever we change it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, we could figure out like exactly the language and how we structure it, but I think the idea was just to plug for it here, and we can probably discuss it in Slack. But that's a great idea, Matthew. Matthew, did you want to go next? Or Andre, is there anything more you wanted to say?
Yeah, like what is the next steps? Like, should we just open an issue in Kubeflow/community, and like, what do you think should be the next steps?
Yeah, I would recommend starting an issue and just tagging some folks on it, or just post it here, and I'll comment on it. No, I'm happy to help because I love this idea.
Yeah, we can use Kubeflow community then. Okay, right. Yeah, let's move on.
Cool.
I just if the model registry people are here, I just want to give them the chance to go first because I don't know if they're here the whole meeting.
Okay. Eder, Lucas, did you all want to give an update?
Or anyone from there, yeah. Just give an update on like what's happening with model registry, so because people haven't heard about it in a little while.
Yeah, we had touch a thread in the community Slack, just talking about that and plans. Right now, as it is, like model registry UI is ready to go. We've just merged the PR that promote all the manifests into root, a model registry repo. So we are ready to just sync the latest version of the manifests into Kubeflow, so we can prepare for the R0 build. There's already some follow-ups that we need to do because this is the first pass of the model registry UI, such as fixing some UI inconsistencies that we found. Like we pretend to do that in the bug fixing time frame. And then there's, as well as editing the docs to reflect how to install model registry UI alongside model registry. And we had a conversation with the model registry team, since there's some like weird user experience installing both model registry and model registry UI in the central dashboard, and we're trying to figure out the best way possible to do that. Maybe we'll propose something in the community just to make sure, like maybe having some sort of share namespace for model registry so users can get there and have access to share model registry or something like that. But we are still figuring out like how to just implement that and propose a solution for the community. But so far, like everything's ready and users can use right now a model registry UI alongside model registry.
Just to confirm, so the sidebar, that would need a link in the sidebar. So have we got a link in the sidebar set up for the dashboard, or?
That's something that we'll need to have to, once we sync the manifests, we'll add an overlay for the
Well, is it in the default? Is it going to be a default component in the manifests?
No, because right now model registry is not a default component in Kubeflow. That maybe will be part of Kubeflow 1.11. So for now, we are just adding instructions on how users can get that into an overlay or something like that. But so far, right now, we are not intending to just have model registry as default in.
Then we have two different overlays that are one for KServe, one for model registry, and then we'd maybe need one for both or something, which would be kind of annoying. But yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we are aware. So like the solution will be promoting model registry as a default component, but that's something that we are not targeting for 1.10. So maybe we can address that with docs or something like that, because like there's no easy solution for that as long as like customize allow us to have something. So yeah, that's that. But we are aware of that.
Yes. Okay, anyway, ask Eder for help there and we can probably figure something out. But yeah.
Yeah, for sure. That's part of what we were proposing for the community with the other thing that we were intending to do.
It's fine to just have two overlays for now. It's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Awesome. Anything else? Great. Okay. Matthew?
Hi, I just wanted to highlight Notebooks 2.0 because every time I do, people message me and say they want to contribute code, which is a good and a bad problem because we now have like just a truly insane amount of people working on it. So sometimes we don't have things for everyone to do. Okay, but I just want to highlight we're working on Notebooks 2.0 still. We're making good progress. Most of the work right now is happening on the front end. There is some work happening on the API backend, not the controller. That's mostly finished. The kind of current status is that obviously it's not for 1.10, so that don't get your hopes up for that. But we are, so if you want to read about it, you don't have to open or anything. Just read that issue. It's a frequently asked questions. If you want to contribute, we have meetings every Thursday. I believe it is this week. So let me just get a confirmation on that at 8 a.m. Pacific. Yes, it is. Okay, so 8 a.m. Pacific time, Thursday, we have a meeting. If for reference, the pieces that we are working on contributions from, again, with the controller being mostly finished, there's less happening there. But definitely for the backend, there's definitely people, if you have experience writing tests in Go and things like, and just building APIs and REST APIs in general, I would love to hear from you. Even if you've not worked with Kubernetes before, much, I mean, not maybe some would help, but because we're the piece that's having the most code going in right now, other than the front end, which has just, and probably we have enough engineers, I think, on the front end, would be the backend. So if you are a really experienced React or JavaScript developer and you are a user of Notebooks 1.0 or just really want to help, we can probably find tasks for you in the front end. Or if you're maybe a designer and you're really good at making mockups and things, maybe as well. Yeah, and so there's one other category of person as well, which is that if you are a security researcher and want to participate in like, I don't know, red teaming the initial version of the app, that would be really useful as well. Because obviously it's a brand new app and a lot of people are going to use it at scale for pretty sensitive things, probably as soon as we release it. So if someone does, I think I just want to highlight someone's message in the chat that some of the people who are working on the model registry backend might want to help with our backend. Absolutely, please. I think Eder can help facilitate that. So yeah, if anyone wants to ask any questions about Notebooks 2.0, I'll answer the first one, which is around the timeline before it gets asked inevitably, which is right now we're not committing to any timeline until we have an end-to-end working version of the app, just on a mock version of it, like it works physically. That and the other thing, yeah, and we're not, and in terms of yeah, and so any questions anyone wants to ask about Notebooks 2.0, feel free to raise your hand or type something in the chat, or we can move on. If not, cool. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. Andre, did you want to go?
Oh, actually, someone actually did put up their hand.
Tushar, go ahead.
Hey people, I'm actually new to the community. Recently, I had joined the last meeting on, I guess, Manifest a meeting. So there I talked to Julius about the community, and he suggested me to look into Google Summer of Code to start contributing into CNCF stuff. And yeah, now that you had mentioned about the backend in Go, so I'm right now like learning how to design backends in Go, so I could probably help in that. So can you?
So the Google Summer of Code, just to highlight, hasn't started yet. That starts in a couple of weeks. I've just put the link in there. I'll paste it in the chat as well, so you can read about it. I'd recommend reading about that, and you'll learn about what the current status of that is.
Mhm. I mean, just as a starting point to contribute, I would like
You
to
don't need
contribute
to
to the rest of
contribute to it as part of Google Summer of Code. You can contribute without Google Summer of Code, but yeah, if you don't have kind of like the requisite kind of experience and you need mentorship, yeah, it will be pretty challenging to contribute without something. But if you're interested in applying for Google Summer of Code, again, I warn you that thousands of people applied last time. Just read that page that we posted in the chat. Thanks. I think we'll move on. Sorry.
Still apply. Don't worry about those numbers. As Han Solo says, never tell me the odds. Go apply for it.
Yeah,
I'm
Don't
not
let
saying
Matthew bring you
I'm just-
down. Do
yeah.
it.
I'm just warning you that if you want to contribute, maybe do it outside of that if that's necessary. Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
No los dos.
two things are true here. Tushar,
This is out of theory. Yeah.
thank you. We definitely welcome you to contribute to Kubeflow. I'm excited about it, and I think also, you should definitely apply to the Google Summer of Code.
Yeah, this is out of my pure interest. I'm asking because right now I'm learning those. So
Yeah, I'm just going to
this
stop
would
you. Sorry, this
probably
isn't
be-
the right place to talk about that, so I'm just going to mute you. I'm sorry. Okay.
Hey, let's not.
Yeah, sorry,
If you'd be
Matthew,
willing,
like,
let's not like
yeah,
interrupt people.
let's not. Yeah, and also like I just want to say to sure. I mean, even outside of GSOC, please take a look at good first issues.
Yeah.
There are many like things you can help with, even like the website updates. So please just take a look at the issues and start contributing, and definitely you can help us significantly. with
Yeah,
many,
feel
many-
free to message me on the CNCF Slack too. I've already helped point some other people in the right direction, and we can introduce you to some people in the community, some community elders, as they say, that can help point you to issues or give you some good ideas on what to contribute to. But thanks for bringing this up.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Tushar. Really appreciate it. Andre, did you want to go?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, about the release, right? So can I share my screen?
Yeah, of course. Here, let me stop.
Yeah, so first I want to say that the 1.9.0 got officially released. So this is basically a release for training operator. We have a lot of really great features that we've been working on for the last 6 months. So the first of all, we're supporting distributed JAX within Kubeflow, which is great. I think this was one of the most required features for the community for the last, I think, 4 to 5 years. Many people using JAX today on TPUs. So if you have TPUs and if you want to actually run scalable JAX jobs, please try this out and let us know about the feedback, how you can, scale the JAX across, thousands of TPUs. And TPUs is much more scalable compared to GPUs. So I would strongly suggest to you, if you're actually interested to use JAX, please try this out and let us know like if you have any problems with this. And also like one of the most important features managed by. So right now we are working with Q community to make sure we have native integration with Project Q with K to make sure we can orchestrate the train jobs across in a multi-cluster environment. So I think this will be part of the Q next release of Q. And once we publish this release on Q, you can try this out as well. But this is this is extremely important, especially like the energy around multi-cluster orchestration and how folks today managing Kubernetes clusters. So super exciting to see all of your use cases, how it helps you to drive this training infrastructure for you. And there are also like a lot of new features and things you can also consider. So we're trying to prepare these release notes for everyone who want to try this out. Any questions for 1.9.0 release?
So just to confirm, this is not the V2 release. This doesn't include any of that.
Yeah, it has like V2, but like it's not officially released. So yeah, like if you this is basically for existing user of training operator who want to use a new release of training operator 1.9.0. Right. Any other questions? Great. So let's move on. So I think like I have a few more things. So do we want to talk about them or do we have any other items on the agenda, Francisco?
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Unless somebody else, please feel free to.
Is this like a community thing or is this like a more of a leads thing?
So this thing is about the community. I think this is very quick, and then we can jump to your discussion, Matthew, or to discussion about the trainer and SDK. Like, what do you think we should do first?
Oh, anything that's for the community first. That's the whole idea.
Okay, so the community, like this, I think Valentina added this, so we need to help from, especially we have students here. So if you want to help the Kubeflow community, please help us to review this PR, because this PR needs to be included in the next release of KDIP. So if you want to get involved, just take a look, and we need to find volunteers who can help us to review this PR to add support for parameter distribution with Aptuna. So this is just asking for the help here on the call. Yes, anything
What
else?
specifically do you need help with? Like, is it a review? Just like
Yeah, just review this PR. Yes, provide any
who
feedback. Yeah.
wouldn't it need to be a Kata maintainer to review?
I guess it could be anyone, like who can, like who knows, like Go or Python, or just try to understand like how KDIP works. I don't feel any issue to be a KDIP maintainer to start reviewing this PR.
Okay, cool. Let's let Josh also talk about his basic thing as well.
Yeah, Josh, do you want to talk about DeepSeek?
Yeah, so I don't know if folks in the community have read anything about the DeepSeek, revelations the last couple of weeks and their use of reinforcement learning and the potential advantages it provides to users of large language models. So it seemed as though some of the optimizations that they're doing might customers or users might benefit from things that Kubeflow actually can expedite or more efficiently implement. So what I wanted to do is see if folks in the community have analyzed some of the stuff that came out of the DeepSeek paper and see if Kubeflow has any attributes that help users.
I've been exploring a little bit about their repo. I don't know about all the details, but I think they're using Slurm for scaling their training. I don't know about all the details there. Yeah, but the thing is, like, I don't know if we can have any potential to, like implement those RL algorithms, right? yeah, I think like the thing is like, what is the adoption of like what is the role of Kubernetes, right? And all this, GPU cost optimizations, right? Like these things we definitely need to explore, Josh.
Well, I mean, if I look at just the economics of what they're talking about, OpenAI in 01 or maybe in 03, what did they spend? $100 million in training, something like this. It's crazy. And now DeepSeek says we've used reinforcement learning and been able to achieve, close performance on these older measurement techniques, MMLU and others, for $5 or $6 million. Skeptical on whether those costs are correct, but they have actually produced a smaller model that performs very well that's open source.
Yeah, I mean, these are impressive things, Josh. I agree. That's why the community and market has reacted as it has. Of course, nothing is financial advice here, and I think we as a community should, as politics aside, if something novel and great has been created, it's good for the community and the ecosystem as a whole. And assuming we can keep building great tools, then, as long as someone wins, then everyone wins.
I think from my perspective, optimization, it's not, surprise me really, for all these new algorithms. I think what we should do for the long term to build a stronger relationship with data scientists and MLEs and give them, like infrastructure so they can test their algorithms, right? Because for years, data science community and ML community the cloud community have been separated. The thing is like all these things that DeepSeek implemented is not new. I didn't really explore all these algorithms that I'm using for reinforcement learning. Especially, but those algorithms exist for many like for years. They just, make it possible in production. That's it, right? So if we provide like set of infrastructure for those smart folks to test those, things they write in papers, I think that will be significant. Like we definitely can play a key role there to, to make these algorithms work actually in production, right? Because 90% of what you can see in the papers never actually see the production environment, right? I think we've been discussing this for years, right?
Yeah, 100% agree with Andre. I think like if like two things are going to continue to happen, right? Models are going to get smaller and models are going to get bigger at the same time. And I think like the consequence of that is that like the better our infrastructure is to use and the easier our infrastructure is to use for end users, the more people will use it. And so like, obviously NVIDIA stock went down like crazy for a little bit there, but I think that's mostly a distraction. Like people want to tune more, want to train more. So I think like the better that experience is for the people doing the fine tuning or training, or reinforcement learning, the better I think that the outcome will be for Kubeflow and the more our community will expand. And some of that is through like, well, Hugging Face does really well, which is like templates to say, well, here's how you can get started, right? And demos and maybe a unified SDK. I think that's probably a really great way to just anchor on the main point, which is if we give people a really great user experience, we'll probably see a lot more people using it. And reinforcement learning is one example of how they can use the existing Kubeflow training infrastructure. You structure it as basically just another PyTorch job. You pass around gradients a little bit differently, and there's like some fancy math to it, but the principle of like the tooling is still the same.
Yeah, so I would love to see more folks from academia join our community. I think like the challenges we have, like those communities always separated, right? We have data community, ML community, and cloud community, right? How to unify those folks is kind of always challenging. Yeah.
On the Red Hat side, I think I mentioned to this Andre, the instruction tuning that's done in partnership with the MIT lab, and IBM research, where we're collaborating together, and we're using the training operator stack to accomplish these things. So I think we can really start to again, like if we make it easier, we'll get smaller labs, which I think is really the goal. Obviously, the bigger labs, you know, probably we'll get them. Yeah, Chase.
Yeah, this is something that I think, and this is great for a community call. Kubeflow has a lot of amazing components tied into a lot of different communities. And a lot of the people that are using those components directly, such as like the PyTorch community, and PyTorch is a Linux Foundation project, right? But then there are users that use PyTorch to fine tune and handle models in academia. So when I think of Kubeflow, I see that we're really a platform in that we can take a lot of different types of personas: cloud infrastructure engineers, machine learning engineers, data scientists. And I think we can really be a town square for a lot of these different expertise. So working with these communities more deeply. So I think actually if we go and reach out as ambassadors to these communities, even Feast for these data communities, right? I think Kubeflow can be a really phenomenal project to help us kind of navigate this MLOps world with multiple different personas and opinions.
Okay. Anything else?
No, I just here's the point, folks. I think that relevant to the amount of money that's going towards the investments into what we do. This was a major thing that happened yesterday, right? In the last couple of days. And it's possible that it's a good thing for Kubeflow. If we learn how to spin our story correctly, what people are calling, you know, whatever you want to call it, a shift change in that maybe it doesn't have to take $100 million to fine tune a model. Maybe there's places where we fit in very well. So all I'm saying is let's keep our eyes open, right?
Agreed. And I think like the thing that I take away from this is that the limiting case is that people will want to tune more on local hardware because it'll be financially feasible too, which means that we need to make sure that we have a really good experience from training locally to distributed, is my personal opinion. But anyway.
Well, and I think the other part is lock-in. I mean, anyone who's talked to customers with cloud, right? They're afraid of being a single cloud. Well, are you also afraid of being a single API, right? How do you have the same different outputs and outcomes if the API, the model can change underneath the covers and you're subject to the inferencing and all these things? So we already know we have conversations around what APIs do you want to be codependent on and what happens when you migrate them. So I think Kubeflow has a conversation of you can do a lot of different things. And, you know, it's a similar conversation to cloud versus on-prem, right? What services do you manage yourself? What services do you trust to a third party? So I think, yeah, there's a lot of power with Kubeflow.
Cool.
So yeah, there is another section for people, Francisco, if things that we want to discuss that are pretty not really for the whole community. Do you want to share your screen or do you want me to share it again?
Oh yeah, I got it. Let's see. I forgot that I stopped sharing it. Okay. All right, there we go. Can folks see it? All right, cool.
And so I just wanted to quickly catch, is Ramesh still there? And I just want to get an update on the Google Summer Code thing, like, because we have to apply by a certain date.
No, it's just opened up yesterday, or day before, Matthew. Yeah, this week I will put in the application for sure.
Awesome. And how are we gonna, like, and do we need anything from the community to do that?
Not right now, but what I'm gonna call out is to, all the mentors to come out. Possibly the two requests I'm gonna be asking, right? Like last year. One is the mentor sign-up sheet. Maybe we can put that one little bit more time there, but at least all the community leads, all the component leads, and what I want you to do is start thinking about what are all the features you wanna ask as if open projects that these students can come in and help us with, right? Like last time, we selected about 10 projects last time. So I'm thinking, maybe we need to come up with, 15. There was a lot of interest last year. At least try to get, there is no, if you want, add multiple in, depending upon number of people, we can slice it however we need to, number of students applied, we can figure it out. So that would be my first task, is to start thinking about what projects there are, right? And having to come up with a very concise definition of what they are, and see who can mentor on those things. So let's, if you have an idea, start, I think, Matthew, thank you for putting together that initial, website, and, start submitting a PR into that, right? That's what I would need, and because that's the page I'm going to link in with the organization submission, but they don't require me to give a list of projects at this moment, but very soon they will ask me. So let's keep. I think February sometime, late February is where the end of the organizations is. So yeah, before that, we need to get this going. So if you can help me there, that would be great.
Cool. Thanks, Ramesh, so much for your work on this. It was great last year. I just wanted to give you a chance to talk again. But yeah, we'll talk more about it later, so we can kind of go through these other items. But absolutely,
Sure. Yeah.
If you ever need anything from us, please message in the Slack.
Andre, did you want to discuss this item?
Yeah, I think it's important, right, for the users. Any kind of existing users here on the call of training operator, we can speak up about it.
What was the question? Sorry.
I just want to give a heads up what we're going to do, and if we have any kind of objections from the community. So let me maybe share my screen, Matthew. I can go through these items. So as all of you know, we've been working for the last 6 months on this new V2 iteration of training operator. So we make a decision to have a new project under Kubeflow umbrella called Kubeflow Trainer, which actually will streamline, distributed training and LLM fine-tuning on Kubernetes, similar to what we've done for training operator V1, but much more GenAI focus and with consolidation of effort of Kubernetes batch working group. So right now I have 4 different options. Maybe I can quickly go through them, what we want to do. The first option was to migrate the training operator repo to the new repository and maintain the releases there. Second option was to create a new repository, completely brand new repository, Kubeflow Trainer. The third option was to start the Kubeflow Trainer with v1.10 release of this repo. And the fourth option was to separate SDK from the Kubeflow Trainer control plane and release the Kubeflow Trainer as 2.0 version of this repo. So we discussed this working on Blitz, and we kind of agreed that we want to preserve the history of this training operator, because training operator, actually the TF operator, which was the first repo when Google started the Kubeflow project back in 2017. So we really want to keep this history there in terms of the transition from TF operator to training operator to trainer right now, which means we still want to use this repo. So folks can, always see the maturity of the project. And at the same time, we don't want to confuse users and customers in terms of the trainer is a new release of this project, which means we want to start with release 2.0 for trainer. The only thing that we want to do, and this is back to discussion on SDK, just to keep everyone aware, we've been discussing this for the last 3 years, that we need to have a unified and simple interface for ML engineers and data scientists to work with Kubeflow APIs. So for this, we want to start a new kind of SDK, Python SDK. It could be in the future maybe more SDK like Swift or Java SDK, but basically to streamline ability to talk with Kubeflow APIs, where it is train jobs, tune jobs, evaluator jobs, or anything else, in the one simple interface. So for this, we actually want to create a new project under Kubeflow/SDK. So this is not yet been confirmed, but we just want to see how we can consolidate effort across multiple subcomponents. So the rough idea, I think I tried to enumerate it here, was to data scientists and ML engineers just install one SDK called Kubeflow, and then they can do Spark processing. They can train their models. They can optimize their models. Maybe they can evaluate, build agents, whatever they want to do with Python SDK. And then they can also use a KFP, which is sitting on top to orchestrate all those, individual pieces together with an end-to-end MLOps pipeline, because KFP sitting right now separate. And I guess like this is kind of like a step for us as a community to see how we can provide a simple interfaces, so folks can see how all these, individual pieces can play together with a seamless integration. Any questions for this? I don't want to go to the details because I know we're over time. And there are many things we can talk about, but any kind of high-level questions?
I just want to understand why you want to combine them rather than just having them as a separate version, like so you can version them separately, like Spark Operator, wouldn't it want to version with its own releases rather than with the overall community?
Yeah, so I think the goal is to separate control plane from client. So this is the client side of things, right? I know KFP right now separate KFP SDK from the control plane as well. They just keep them in the same repository, right? Because client doesn't need to always be updated when we update the control plane, right?
Oh. But what I'm saying is more like you're saying there are like 3 different projects that you're proposing to combine here, right? Which would have their own version strategies and maybe want to do their own deprecation or breaking, because from a user perspective, the client versioning is even more important than the backend versioning, right?
This is the challenging part, like how to keep all this versions synchronized and make it simple for user. But I think like this is kind of we as the community should design this versioning, very deeply and make sure like the client, like, MLAs and a data scientist don't really worry about them, right? They just, like they have a feature, they want to use this feature. If this SDK version allows them to use this feature, they can do it, right? But like, how to keep this version is kind of like the operator, like the cluster admin's responsibility, right? To update the control plane.
What I'm more saying is like, let's say this is a user thing. So that means code for actual pipelines is in this, right? Using this library.
Yeah, so not actually the pipelines, right? So, like you have for example, like this libraries allows you to train, optimize your models, and KFP allows you to stitch these pieces together, right? So like inside the individuals clients, they do the specific things in terms of MLOps lifecycle, right? Like for example, you don't need to build entire like end-to-end ML lifecycle. You don't even need to use KFP, right? You need to use KFP when you want to stitch these pieces together, right? You want to have a Spark workload, then you want to have a PyTorch workload. You need to stitch them within the pipeline. So for this, you need to use KFP.
What I was more meaning is like, you're writing a step in a job with this, which is exactly what you're saying, right? You're writing a step in a job with this.
Step in the MLOps pipeline, end-to-end MLOps pipeline. Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. So, like, for example, for interactive use cases, right? I developing my PyTorch model. I want to quickly see how this model actually can be fine-tuned on, 5 nodes or 5 GPUs within PyTorch, right? I just write my training function for fine-tuning script, and I just use, trainer.train to actually kick off my, derivative job, right? And that will, similar to, for example, like Ray, right? In Ray, you can, train, tune, serve your functions within simple Python interfaces, right? On top of Ray clusters. So here we just do similar, but just on top of Kubernetes clusters using Kubernetes native primitives, right? And again, I think that there's also an opportunity for KFP to see how we can streamline, like, for example, how we can transition from Spark to PyTorch within the same Kubernetes environment. So I think we've been discussing this before, but how to make this, data transition even more kind of optimized and streamlined. So I think we've been discussing this as well, but I guess it's just, step of consolidations. Step of consolidation, give MLAs and data scientists simple Python interface to work with Kubeflow APIs.
It's definitely something to discuss more. I just think the concern I have is that like each of these components might want their own SDK as well. Like Spark Operator might want its own SDK that's like not about connecting it to other things, but is versioned separately, And then the problem I just want to highlight is that when you have big Python things, the dependency management in Python is a bit messy. So that means that everyone has to like use the same versions of any dependencies that we're using, obviously, and things like that. But the biggest thing is about versioning, right? Like how are we gonna
that is why versioning also was a concern like for us, how we can make it simpler, right? But I think we can do it. I mean, it's not a rocket science, it is possible. We just need
as long as you scope the project. Like, so is the purpose of this project not related to any individual thing, but rather connecting things? Or is it so it's more like a, you know, Spark Operator might still have their own SDK, but this is about like, this is the Kubeflow SDK for connecting steps in Kubeflow, you know?
Yeah, so it's basically more talking to the APIs, right? I know KFP talked today to the API server. Compared to other projects like, you know, Katip or Training Operator or Spark, we talk directly to CRDs. We don't have API server, right? So this is like the main differences, right? For model registry of Feast, I see also integrations within this SDK. This is also would be possible. Like, for example, like, you know, we can have another client for model registry where it can actually allows us to, you know, just export my model after my training is complete to Kubeflow model registry. Like this is basically separating control plane from the client side of things, right? If that makes sense.
I just worry that making a mega app, if the purpose of the app is not connecting the components together or doing something like that, then making a mega app only creates problems for us. Like a mega package only creates problems for us.
It is not really mega app. I mean, it is just, you know, data science friendly interface. They open a notebook, they define my fine-tuning script, they using this SDK to train, optimize my model, export my model to model registry, right? Maybe using Spark to do my data processing, feature engineering, right? I open another notebook, the same SDK, kind of similar APIs to, you know, process my data with Spark. So again, all of this is possible. It allows us to actually users to use individual pieces, like individual components like Spark, Trainer, you know, Optimizer, and also like all of them together within the pipeline using KFP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, this is great. And I love the idea of discussing. I mean, this is a common, for those listening, conversation in Kubeflow on unifying everything, separating components, how to build things together. I know there's conversations on Kubeflow as a platform. Matthew has had great comments on like Kubeflow is more of a bunch of cloud services, part of a portfolio. But it seems like, you know, this is a conversation that is almost part of conformance and steering. So maybe it would benefit everyone to have kind of a separate call where we can really discuss and get in the weeds, and allow other people as well to chime in, maybe an issue, etc.
Yeah, I mean, this is obviously the part of the call where we can kind of talk about things that are lead related. That's what we're doing here. So if anyone who isn't a lead doesn't have to be here right now. But I am just a little bit concerned, Andre, about what the goal of what you're doing is. That's kind of what I'm saying. Yeah.
I think we need to have a clear proposal for the goal. And we spoke with many data scientists. I think all of them liked this idea to have like unified Python interface to talk to Kubeflow APIs. Yeah, like, you know, with more kind of, you know, Jupyter interactive focus, like all these extensions built on top for observability, traceability, you know, like things around ML flow, like which we don't have today in Kubeflow, right? Like this, you know, metadata tracking somehow. So this is just a step towards make it simple for MLAs and data science to talk to Kubeflow, right? That is why KFP became really popular. You know, KFP has a simple interface, a DSL language that, you know, MLAs can talk to and data scientists.
Chase wants to say something, but before he does, I just want to quickly ask one more thing, Andre, which is, like, so is the reason that they want that because we don't have SDKs right now, or is it because they want a unified one?
Because they don't want to know about Kubernetes anything, and we don't have. I mean, we do have individual one, but they want to manage it within the same kind of, you know, package, right? Like, you know, they just want to do pip install Kubeflow, like similar to how to do pip install transformers, and start to do work, right? Without any other like thinking about it. Okay, do I need Kubeflow optimizer, Kubeflow trainer? What is Kubeflow trainer? Hey, like
I feel like we shouldn't be doing it pip install Kubeflow because I feel like that there will be components that are separate, you know, like KFP. I feel like we should give it a brand name, like Kubeflow Flow or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think we can. Yeah.
Wait, so look, I think like let's decouple naming conventions and like the intent of the thing, because I'm 100% aligned with Andre. We need something like this, right? There are a lot of like you know, Kubeflow forks that are actual products that like do this for people, and we don't, and I think that leads to like end users not having a great experience. And then we can figure out what the naming of the package is. You know, I think SDK is probably fine, or Kubeflow. I mean, yeah, I'm not overly attached to it. Like, I think we can spitball and come up with something reasonable. you know, but I think flow would probably be a little bit too on the nose of
Start
ML.
with the goal, though. I think the first thing is to be like, okay, is the purpose of this app
I
to
think
connect?
the goal is to streamline scalable ML development on cloud, right? You know, we understand we have KFP. KFP is like another beast we, you know, should discuss, you know, how to consolidate it. But I think if users can just, you know, do pip install, or, you know, operators can do pip install on their Kubeflow notebooks or Kubeflow workspaces, I think this is the experience that, you know, MLAs and data scientists want, right? We just speak about data scientists, right? They don't know anything about Kubernetes, cloud, CNCF, just PyTorch, right? Or just, you know, like TensorFlow, JAX, right?
Yeah, 100%. It's our job to figure out how to make it work.
Yeah.
And you know, it's
Yeah,
job to just install and have high expectations. Sorry, Chase has been
Chase
waiting.
wants to say something.
Yeah. Go ahead, Chase.
So it seems like this is more of like a product end user conversation. What if we, and I don't know if Andre, you might have done this because you're so brilliant at working with this community, but what if we opened this up to the working group AI community and asked them for some feedback and said, hey, what's the user experience? We're trying to figure out what end users want. Help us understand the definition here. If that is a pip install, is that a, you know, how does this relate to the distros, et cetera? What's the user experience they're looking for?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, Chase. Let me propose this to Ricardo and other folks in the working group API, and maybe we can have some draft idea what we have in mind and discuss with them. Like what
Yeah.
the problem is, like, there are not really a lot of folks from academia data scientists on these calls. Like, this is like really because we need to speak with data scientists. Like, I'm worried about them, not like cloud engineers, right?
Okay.
Like,
Like and this is the key point. It's like ML ops engineers are the ones who use our platform to like set it up, but like the end user really doesn't care about our product.
Okay. So what if we interacted with the PyTorch community? I bet there's a ton of data scientists in the PyTorch, and they're through the Linux Foundation. And also, if the PyTorch community gets buy-in to our community because they're getting feedback on the best possible ways to run PyTorch training jobs on Kubeflow, I bet then they'll be more invested in Kubeflow. It's the IKEA effect, right? When people give feedback, they're more willing to support. You're more willing to support your kid because you pay for it to eat than you are the random kid on the playground, right?
The one exception to the thing you've just said, by the way, not just everyone is around like MLOps things, is that the users of Kubeflow notebooks are the data scientists by definition, right? So they do, that's probably the place where they're most likely, not the development calls that we have, but like in the actual user space there. Like we could have an in-app ad almost, you know, like, but like,
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Like the idea of this is like what we've been proposing for like very, very long time, right? How to streamline this from notebooks development to the cloud and scale this, right? You know,
and what
like,
you mean by that is to pipelines and distributed training, right? That's kind of what you're
pipelines
saying.
not really scaling you. Pipelines teaching these pieces together, right? Pipelines doesn't allow you to run, you know, PyTorch on multiple nodes because there are many, many other things which are associated with this, right? KFP, again, KFP is teaching these pieces together, but individually it's also like the products, right?
I mean, that is the thing that we're actually doing and productizing at the Red Hat side. We spent the last few months doing that, and we're like a lot of it was glued together for reasons, but I think like the conclusion is that there's a really good opportunity to make it better so that we have a really good experience for end users. And on the Red Hat side, we're actually investing in a team to do just that. And so, like, I think
is the plan to contribute it upstream?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's why I'm here. Yeah. And again, it's the idea of this unified training and experimentation experience, and as Andre outlined, it includes hyperparameter optimization, data processing, maybe feature experimentation, right? And then registry.
Yeah, and how we can, you know, like maybe unify this by clients, right? You know, like if KFP, for example, not available, you cannot use, you know, pipelines, or if trainer isn't available, like you cannot use trainer. Like, yeah. So anyway, I think this is quite a long discussion. I think we just need to have an initial proposal. I think this is a good idea for Chase, like to speak with Working Group AI about it. I like this idea. And let's discuss this more definitely, because I think this is actually what, back to Josh's point, helps us to find more adoption across, you know, data science. Yeah.
Well, so Amber was talking with the PyTorch community. I know the CNCF is looking for better ways to work with them. This might be another great opportunity to reach out to them and say, how can we make your lives easier? And what are you guys looking for from a platform? Where are there gaps when you want to use PyTorch? So I think that we can get a lot of different feedback. And then Matt's comment about notebooks is also genius, right? Let's say, hey, the notebook users, how can we help you, right? When you want to go beyond training in a simple notebook and tie things together. I think that because, when you think of the notebooks, they're kind of the portal into the system for a lot of people, right? So I think that between notebooks, STK, and these different communities, we can really get some feedback. And it sounds like Red Hat's already got their their eyes on the prize here for this. So this is great.
Yeah, I just want to highlight, Andre, I think some of the things you want, what I would love to understand is like what the focus of this new project would be, because it's a new project, right? And is the focus to go as easily from a notebook to a deployment as possible, or is the focus to do something else? Like, and then whatever we do, we should agree on that first, and then move to the actual building it.
Yeah, and we can define this in the goals, right? But I mean, you're right, Matthew. Like, how you can go from the notebook, from one kernel to multi-node, scalable fine-tuning, right? Which you could just not do within the kernel, right? Like similar to like how you have Ray kernel being connected to your notebook today. You can do this in Ray cluster, but you need to have Ray cluster. So here we just, orchestrating the native Kubernetes workloads to do, like PyTorch training or MLX training or TensorFlow training. And all these optimizations coming in like hyperparameter optimization, right? Like Spark for data processing, like feature engineering, right? You still need to have this step from notebook when you do initial experimentation to scaling your experimentation, even for interactive workloads. And I can definitely speak about this all because I'm part of notebooks team here at Apple, but like we can maybe continue this discussion later on.
Anyway, thanks for bringing this up, Andre.
Yeah.
So
All right. No worries.
Yeah, I mean, I think this and the roadmap are two great things that we should definitely invest in. I think like it's I think it's really good for the community, independent of Red Hat. So awesome. Well, that concludes our meeting for today. We're way past time. That tends to be the case, but it was a really engaging discussion. Thank you, Matthew. Thank you, Chase. Thank you, Andre. Thank you, everybody. Josh. And go out there and do some matrix multiplications. Happy Tuesday.